Thank you. Thank you, Paul. It's been my friend for a long time. But thank you for that introduction. It says it all. You can say very shortly, but I think there's nobody that's ever done more, certainly in the position of president, for our great police. And it's an honor to be with you. And please sit down. Let's go have a good time. And Paul, I want to thank you for nearly 4 decades of exceptional service in the line of duty. I'm thrilled to be here at the 126th Annual Conference of the International Association of Chiefs of Police, joined by thousands of amazing law enforcement leaders, people that I know, people that I love, people that I respect, who defend our communities, chase down criminals, and keep America safe. You don't hear it enough. You do an incredible job. The people of this country know it. And the people of this country love you. You don't hear that from these people back here, but they love you. You don't hear it from the fake news. The fake news doesn't like talking about that, but they love you. Every day of my presidency, I will be your greatest and most loyal champion. I have been, and I will continue to be. It was a tremendous weekend. As you very well know, it was a tremendous weekend for our country. We killed ISIS leader al-Baghdadi. They've been looking for him for a long time. They've been looking for him for many years. He was a sick and depraved man, and now he's dead. He's dead. He's dead as a doornail. And he didn't die bravely either, I will tell you that. He should have been killed years ago. Another president should have gotten him. But to me, it was a very important, I would say all the time, they'd walk into my office, sir, we killed this leader at a low level, this leader. I said, I never heard of him. I want al-Baghdadi. That's the only one I know now. I want al-Baghdadi. Get him. And they got him. But he was big time. He built the ISIS caliphate. You hear about ISIS, that was him. There was once the physical size of the state of Ohio and had 7 million people, and it was growing big, big, big. And they had a problem. It started about 2.5 years ago. And during my administration, we all together destroyed the caliphate 100%. Remember, I got it down to 97%. And I said, all right, let's go home. And then those people started saying 100%. You know, before me, they didn't care. But now they say, what about 100%? And we met some great generals. I learned a lot about generals. I met some good ones, and I saw some bad ones. Some that didn't have what it takes, and others that had more than anyone would have thought. And it was supposed to take a year, maybe even 2 years. And I said to one of them, how long will it take? Think we can do it in 1 week, sir? He was a little more like you. But we have now tens of thousands of ISIS prisoners under tight supervision. And now we want the countries in the region to police their own borders. We don't want to be a policeman in this case of 2 countries that haven't gotten along for centuries. But we're keeping the oil. Remember that. I've always said that. Keep the oil. We want to keep the oil. $45 million a month. Keep the oil. We've secured the oil. This morning, we are delighted to be joined by a lifelong friend of our brave police. Incredible guy, tough guy, and somebody with a tremendous heart also. But he is strong. he can take it. Attorney General William Barr. Where is William Barr? They're giving him a side angle of this. Good. Thank you, Bill. Doing a great job. We're also glad to have with us Representatives Rodney Davis, Mike Box, and Darren LaHood. These are warriors. Where are they? Where are they? The three of them. They're warriors for us, for all of us. They're warriors. Thank you. They've done an incredible job. Thanks as well to the entire IACP board, and congratulations to your new incoming president, Chief Stephen Castevens. That's a nice name, I like. Where's that name? Where is he? He should be sitting right up front here someplace. I mean, okay, I'm going over here. Stand up, Stephen. Okay, Stephen, there you go. I went all the way around the room to find you. Thank you very much. Congratulations, incredible group. And I hear you're an incredible leader. Thank you very much. And thank you also to the international law enforcement partners who join us together. Our nations ensure the rule of law prevails in the entire civilized world. We work together. I also want to extend our immense appreciation to all of the law enforcement family members in the room. Please stand. The family members really make you folks work. I know how it all is. They're so proud of you. Family members, please stand. I know how that works. I know how that works. Without those family members, you wouldn't be doing so good. I know that. But there is one person that's not here today. We're in Chicago. I said, where is he? I want to talk to him. In fact, more than anyone else, this person should be here because maybe he could learn something. And that's the Superintendent of Chicago Police, Eddie Johnson. A few days ago, Johnson said, quote, "The values of the people of Chicago are more important than anything President Trump would have to say." I don't think so. Because that's a very insulting statement after all I've done for the police. And I've done more than any other president's ever done for the police. Over 100 years we can prove it, but probably from the beginning. And here's a man that could not bother to show up for a meeting of police chiefs, most respected people in the country, in his hometown, and with the President of the United States. And you know why? It's because he's not doing his job. Last year, 565 people were murdered in Chicago. Since Eddie Johnson has been police chief, more than 1,500 people have been murdered in Chicago, and 13,067 people have been shot. During the first weekend of August 2019, 7 people were murdered and 52 were wounded in 32 shootings in Chicago. And recently they had 78 shootings over a weekend spree and 3 people killed. And Chicago has the toughest gun laws in the United States. That doesn't seem to be working too well, does it? And a lot of you people know exactly what I mean. But under Johnson's leadership, they certainly don't protect people. Then you have the case of this wise guy, Jesse Smollett, who beat up himself. And he said MAGA country did it, MAGA country. Okay? He said MAGA, that's a hate crime. That's a hate crime. And it's a scam. It's a real big scam, just like the impeachment of your president is a scam. And then you look what's going on. Smollett is still trying to get away with it. He would have been better off if he paid his $100,000 bill. Chicago is, unfortunately, the worst sanctuary city in America. Chicago protects criminals at a level few could even imagine. Last year in Cook County alone, ICE asked local law enforcement people to please, pretty please, we beg you, we'll do anything necessary to stop crime. We want to stop crime. Please detain 1,162 people, please. But in each case, the detainer was denied. And Eddie Johnson wants to talk about values. No. People like Johnson put criminals and illegal aliens before the citizens of Chicago. And those are his values, and frankly, those values to me are a disgrace. I will never put the needs of illegal criminals before I put the needs of law-abiding citizens. It's very simple to me. So when Eddie Johnson and many other people from lots of other regions and areas support sanctuary cities, it's really, in my opinion, a betrayal of their oath to the Shield and a violation of his duty to serve and to protect the courageous police officers of Chicago. And I know some of them, and they're the most incredible people. They could solve this problem quickly. It's embarrassing to us as a nation. All over the world, they're talking about Chicago. Afghanistan is a safe place by comparison. It's true. Police officers of Chicago are entitled to a police superintendent who has their backs and knows what he's doing. You're entitled to a police superintendent who sides with you, with the people of Chicago. The people want this. And with the families of Chicago, not the criminals and the gang members that are here illegally, and not the stupid politicians that have no idea what the hell they're doing. But I'm going to tell you a quick story, because it happened right here, and I was very impressed with a certain person, whoever that person may be. I'm sure that we could find him. But about 3 years ago, I was leaving Chicago, and I was accompanied by a massive motorcycle brigade of policemen. And to do that, they have to volunteer, because I guess most places say you have to volunteer. Well, I had a lot of volunteers, I'll tell you, hundreds and hundreds of them. Other candidates have none. It's almost like a free poll. And hundreds of them. Chicago is in the news a lot, just like it is now, because of all of the killings going on and all of the shooting and all of the horrible things happening. When I arrived at the airplane, the police officers asked whether or not it would be possible to have some pictures. And before I won the election, I could do that. I would do that routinely. Now I think Secret Service has a little bit of a problem. It was up to me, I'd do it. But it was just before, might have even been president-elect. It wasn't long ago. The leader of the brigade was this really powerful, strong-looking guy. Big, booming voice. And he was definitely the boss. Do we know what that means? He was the boss. Put your cycles over here. Come on, let's go. He's going to take a picture. Come on, let's go. Hurry up. Come on. And yet they all loved him. They love Vince Lombardi. They love Belichick, right? They love Coach Belichick. They love certain people. It's called respect. But he was very respectfully shouting at his men, and, come on, let's go. And they were doing exactly as he said. He was the guy. just as I'm boarding the plane, I asked this man, I had a lot of respect for him myself because I saw the way he was. He wasn't doing anything wrong, he was just the boss, who was a respected person. I said, excuse me, come here. What the hell is happening in Chicago? He said, it's very sad, sir, very, very sad. I hate to see what's going on. I love this city so much. I hate it. I asked him, what do you think the problem is? And he said, there's no leadership from the mayor, and there's none at the top of the police department. They're afraid to do anything. He said, we have great police, sir, the best in the country. And you all feel that about your own police, but he said that. He said, but we don't have the leadership at the top. It's so sad. I said, you're a tough guy. How long do you think it would take you to fix this killing problem in Chicago? He looked at me and said, one day, sir, these cops are great. They know all the bad guys, sir. They know exactly what to do. We could straighten it out so quickly that your head would spin. I left very impressed, whether it was one day, 1 week, or 1 month. There was no doubt he could have done it. And I actually told the story numerous times, and I actually sent his name in to somebody involved with Chicago. And that's the last time I ever heard of that man. He's probably got a good job someplace outside of a police force. I'm sorry to do that to you, but he's happy. He's happy. So he doesn't have to put up with the nonsense that you have to put up with. But I thought, there's a guy who could be your police superintendent and do a hell of a job. He'd straighten things out. So that was years ago, and I was just thinking about it. I just thought about it on the trip over. I said, I'm going to Chicago, and I want to tell this story because it was, to me, a great story. Because you could fix this up so fast. Good leadership would be pretty easy to find. You have a lot of people right now in the department. I love when they go to other parts of the country and hire people, and they don't know the name of the most basic street. They go all over the country. They hire somebody. Comes in, oh, good, where's our headquarters? What does that mean? Where is it located? You have incredible people in the police department, Chicago. I know some of them, I met some of them. But remember, 565 people were murdered last year. And it's a shame. And I want Eddie Johnson to change his values and change them fast. Today, we're here to report on the outstanding progress we've made to combat violent crime and restore peace and safety to American cities. And most cities are setting records for good crime numbers. In the years before I took office, outrageous slanders on our police went unanswered and unchallenged from your leaders in Washington. You know that very well. Radical activists freely trafficked in vile and anti-police hostility, and criminals grew only more emboldened as a result. In the 2 years before my election, violent crime increased 8%, murders were up by more than 20% and going a lot higher nationwide. The steepest 2-year consecutive increase in over 50 years. But with your help, all of that is changing and changing very rapidly. Under this administration, we're once again standing up for law enforcement. We're condemning anti-police bias in all forms, and we're giving you the support, resources, and the respect, and we have tremendous respect for you, the respect that you deserve. Together, we have taken bold action to reverse the tide in violent crime. Over the last 2 years, the number of murders in America and America's major cities has dropped, unlike here, by more than 10%. And if we ever took the Chicago numbers out of our total numbers, the numbers would be incredible. And they already are. even including Chicago. The nationwide violent crime rate has declined for 2 consecutive years. During the same time, the number of burglaries was reduced by over, think of this, 250,000. So 250,000 less burglaries, big number. Now it also helps that we have the strongest economy in the history of our country. That probably helps. Take a little credit. And it was just announced as I was getting off the plane that the S&P has hit an all-time high, the highest in the history of our country. And that's not for rich people, that's for everybody. That's for your 401ks. Think of that. And I have, again, a great love for the police. And in New York, I was there not so long ago. This was before it went as high as it is now. And this policeman, I like to shake hands after an event. Not that I like to, I do it because I respect policemen. And they want to shake my hand. And fire marshals, people in different stadiums. But I was at an event in New York and came out, I was shaking hands, and this one policeman said, "Sir, I want to thank you. Why? My 401k is through the roof, and for the first time in my life, my wife thinks I'm a financial genius." It's true. Said he was up now 72%. I said, "That's not bad." He said, "She always thought I was incompetent financially. But you have made me into a genius, sir." He hugged me. He actually wanted to kiss me. I said, "No, thank you, but you can." Not my deal, but that's okay. But he was great. And it gave me an idea. You know, this is about 401ks. Many of you have 401ks. Does anybody in this room have a 401k that's down? Raise your hand, please. Oh. Does anybody have a 401k that's up? Everybody. I don't know what you would have had to do to get one that's down. You would have had to really be very bad. But no, they're up 70%, 80%. Last year, my administration charged the largest number of firearm defendants ever recorded in the history of our country. Bill Barr's doing a fantastic job. We have increased federal fire. That's right. Go ahead, let them hear it. And I say let him hear it because he hears from the fake news back there all the time. They want to silence everyone, you know, except for their very strange opinions. We went with that. You wouldn't have a country very long. We've increased federal firearm prosecutions by 44% compared to the last 2 years of the previous administration. This is a record, a new record. 2 years ago, we were launched and revitalized Project Safe Neighborhoods. Now, federal prosecutors are once again working closely with state and local law enforcement and all of the community leaders to marshal our resources, target crime in the most dangerous areas, and lock up violent offenders. In coming weeks, Attorney General Barr will announce a new crackdown on violent crime, which I think is so important, targeting gangs and drug traffickers in high-crime cities and dangerous rural areas. Let's call it the surge. We can come up with lots of names, but we're going to be doing something that's very dramatic, headed up by our great Attorney General, and you're going to see tremendous results very quickly. The best way to reduce gun violence is to put criminals with firearms behind bars. And just so you understand, because I think there is no stronger protector than me, we will always protect our Second Amendment. Always. My administration has also curtailed the harmful and intrusive use of federal consent decrees, which wrongly give meddlesome officials in Washington, D.C., immense authority to tie down local police departments and make it very difficult to do their work. No longer will federal bureaucrats micromanage your local police, and we will work with, upon request, local police to help them, not to hinder them. And we're waiting for a call from Chicago, because there's no place that we would rather help than Chicago. To reduce people going back to prisons and to help nonviolent inmates successfully rejoin society. Last year, we passed historic bipartisan criminal justice reform. It's been very successful. They've been trying to get it passed for a long time. We had conservatives, super conservatives, very liberal people, Republicans, Democrats, we had a lot of people. And I'm especially grateful to the help of Chief Sell of the IACP, fantastic man, as well as Pat Yos and Jim Pasco of the Fraternal Order of Police in achieving this landmark breakthrough. As you know, in recent years, our country has seen a dangerous trend of criminals assaulting police. We don't like that. Last month, Chicago police officer Adam Wozni was serving an arrest warrant for a man suspected of shooting a woman when the suspect opened fire and shot Adam multiple times. He was very, very badly hurt. Adam's fellow officers chased down the gunman while Adam stemmed the bleeding from his wound, almost died. After a month in the hospital and multiple surgeries after that, Adam recently came home to his wife, Annie, and to his 2 young children, so badly hurt. We're profoundly grateful that Adam is with us today. Officer Wozni. Officer Wozni, we commend your tremendous bravery. Thank you. Thank you, Adam. You look good to me. Very handsome. If I had a face like that, I would have been president 10 years earlier. You're looking good, Adam. But an attack on law enforcement is an attack on all Americans. It's true. Thank you, Adam. And we believe that criminals who murder our police should get the death penalty. To help keep you safe, I've made $600 million worth of surplus military equipment available to local law enforcement. If you remember, the previous administration didn't want to do that. Nobody knew why. Sitting in warehouses, getting older and dustier. And we pay a lot of rent to a lot of landlords all over the country. So someday I said, you'll explain. Actually, I do know why. Because they didn't want to make you look so tough. They didn't want to make you look like you're a threat. They said, that's okay. We want to protect our police. And we made it available. And we provided nearly $29 million to train more than 80,000 police officers. And my administration is also addressing the vile acts of mass violence. We've seen some incredible police officers doing some incredible work recently. A few weeks ago, Attorney General Barr sent a letter to all law enforcement agencies announcing that he will lead an effort across the government to use the most proven methods of fighting terrorism and violent crime to identify, assess, and engage potential mass shooters before those shooters strike. And last month, I was profoundly honored to award the Medal of Valor to the 6 police officers who brought down the mass shooter in Dayton, Ohio, in 29 seconds. I don't know how many people saw that, but I thought it was and he did a lot of destruction, but it would have been the worst in history. 29, I'll never forget the scene. They showed 4 of them going down the street. There were 6 altogether, but it was on tape. And those guns, and this is boom, 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 and they were out there perfect, everything, boom. There was no fear. There was no anything. It was, they reacted. And it's hard to figure, you know, a lot of times you'll see something, it's a surreal experience by the time they get it together. They were shooting so fast, 29 seconds, he was dead. And he was going in for a lot of shooting, a lot of killing. They were incredible. So they came to the White House and they got the Medal of Valor. It's a great honor. They were fantastic. Dayton, Ohio. And today we're grateful to be joined by Dayton Police Chief Richard Beal and Assistant Chief Matt Carper. And we commend your department's sterling professionalism. And that's a great state you're in, Ohio. We love Ohio. And what you did in Dayton and the way those police officers acted, and so quickly. Gentlemen, please stand. Please. Come up here. Come on. Come on up here. They look pretty good, too, I have to say. You guys were unbelievable, you people. Say a couple of words, please.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, and also to Attorney General Barr for the recognition of our police officers. 6 brave police officers that acted decisively, swiftly, ending a mass shooting in Dayton, Ohio on August the 4th. They represent the highest of ideals and performance of our profession. We are deeply proud of them. I have with me Lieutenant Colonel Matt Carper. He was the acting police chief in my absence when I was in Washington, D.C., before I could return back to Dayton, Ohio. And he was the senior commander on the scene in those very early hours of August the 4th, helping to coordinate the response, the initial response of more than 100 police officers regionally to respond to that scene and perform the very vast duties that were required at that time. I am deeply grateful to him and his leadership. The Dayton community is grateful for his leadership and for all of those dedicated law enforcement personnel that responded in the early morning hours to do that very duty that they're required to do and do in such a professional manner. So my gratitude to Matt Carper for all his leadership.
Great job. Today I'm proud to announce another historic action that we're taking to reduce violence in America. In a few moments, I will be signing an executive order to establish a new commission on law enforcement and the administration of justice. I've been trying to get this for a long time. This commission will be tasked with providing concrete recommendations to address some of the systemic challenges that burden law enforcement, including homelessness and mental illness. This includes supporting the ability of law enforcement officers to ensure troubled individuals receive the mental care they need. The Commission will provide concrete recommendations, and it will study the best practices to recruit, retrain, hire, train, and provide for health, safety, and the well-being of law enforcement officers. We want to take care of our law enforcement officers. After the commission issues its recommendations next year, and they'll have them soon, because most of them know many of the answers before they begin. We will begin implementing its best efforts immediately. It will take place immediately. Since I took office, we have harnessed the entire federal government to combat the drug addiction epidemic. And last year, drug overdose deaths fell for the first time
about their
in
5-year
31
relationship.
years.
We've got plenty ahead. Stay with us.
Let's take it to a break.
I want to thank Acting Drug Enforcement Administrator Uttam Dillon,
I'm excited
who joins us
to
today,
see
and
if
almost every
Maria pops up
person in
and
this
she goes, I do
room
have
for
work for
working
her.
together.
She's playing
to
him
end
and
this
she's
horrible
like using somebody,
plague.
and that's definitely not okay.
This is a plague not only of this nation.
Coming up,
This is
Like
all
this
over the world.
screams just run,
Stop the
scam,
flow of
red
deadly
flags,
drugs into our
She was
communities. We're also
manipulating
taking dramatic action to secure our southern border.
Just like, just move on.
Illegal crossings are down
used him and you
60%
know that.
since May. And we are building the wall faster, bigger, better than ever even anticipated.
where do you see
Going up now.
Caesar?
I want to thank our military is doing great.
Next after the
The Army Corps of Engineers, all of the folks in the military are doing fantastic, but that
You all right?
wall is going up at a rapid pace.
You okay?
And we'll have from 400 to 500 miles built
Caesar, are you ready?
by the end of next year. It'll have a tremendous impact.
Welcome back to 90 Day Fiancé. Before the 90 days, the couples tell all.
I made one big
Maria
mistake.
will be joining
I
us
should
shortly.
have said,
But first,
I do not want
let's take a
to
look
go
back
away
at
from
Caesar's
Sister
journey.
Mary.
In a few days, I'm flying to Mexico to meet my Ukrainian girlfriend Maria.
I should have said, I want no money to go to
5
the
years
war.
ago
I would
on
have
an
gone
international
there.
dating site.
But
I
our
had
military
planned to
came
meet
through,
Maria
it's
in
going
Ukraine,
off quick.
but she wants to meet in Mexico.
Acting Commissioner of U.S. Customs and Border Protection, Mark Morgan, joins us today. And I want to
If she
thank
knew it was her mom's birthday, why didn't she just say it?
all of the
So that I
members of
wouldn't have
Border
went
Patrol
up
for
to.
the extraordinary
Why
work
is she gonna tell me at the
to
last
defend
minute?
our homeland and protect
She's
our
breaking my
nation.
heart right now.
If Uttam is there and
Look,
Mark,
babe, I just
come
booked your
on
plane
for a
ticket.
second. I want to share
Now we're gonna
my
be together.
because I have to get out.
We go, I love you, alright?
First time ever. But you know what? Because it's you, I'll stay as long as you want me.
There's
Come on.
something that worries me.
Come on.
I'm flying this
Come on.
tomorrow.
Two great
And
people.
I haven't heard from Maria in 2 days. I'm getting nervous. I don't know what the hell's going on.
I think we should have this.
Oh my god. Wow, that is awesome. When I bring her in here, she's like, oh. Yeah. She said her flight's
On
canceled.
behalf of the Greater Minnesota Drug Enforcement Administration, who I am privileged to lead, thank you for your constant and incredible support of our mission, and thank you for your support of all of law enforcement. Thank you, sir.
And soon Uttam will not be acting, by the way. He's done a great job. So he doesn't know this yet. But soon he will not be acting. Congratulations. Mark?
So first of all, I just want to footstart that we will be building 450 miles of big, beautiful wall by the end of 2020. With every mile of wall that's being built, I promise you, it's not just the cities and towns on the border. I always say every town, every city, every state is a border town, a border city, and a border state. With every mile of wall that's being built, we are all safer because of it.
What was it like looking back at that moment when you realized after all of your planning?
And just real quickly, I'd like to say that the officer
Yeah,
of
it's
the
kind
year,
of heartbreaking.
Agent
You know, I was
Ross, and all the
really,
other
really
nominees,
sad.
I think that they embody.
And then all of a sudden, that just
spirit.
messed me all
They
up.
represent who we are.
I just felt like I just
and what we
mismanaged.
stand for. That we get up
Like I
every
just had
single
spent too
day
much on
doing
trying to get
something
everything
greater
ready
than
for her.
ourselves.
And then when I mismanaged my money to try to get everything ready, it was like
Thank you to
everything
you,
just fell
the
out.
leaders
You
of
know,
law
You hadn't heard
enforcement, for
from her
supporting and doing what
2
you do
days.
best,
Why did you think she
supporting the
was
men and women who
actually
get
going
up
to
every
come?
single day, put the badge on their chest, and safeguard this.
I knew probably something. I just figured that something happened, but then
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. President, for your support. I know this man
No, Maria's not
personally,
here.
and when he says he loves us, it's
Oh.
sincere, it's heartfelt, and he means it.
At that time, I
Thank you,
felt
Mr.
like,
President.
how can you fix it? It's already too late.
Because of our president's
And then she
support
ended up
as a
breaking
law
up with
enforcement profession,
Yeah.
we are
I've
strongly
had some
for
fun.
it. Thank you.
It's the only thing we can do. I genuinely feel sorry for you. It must be a horrible
Yeah.
situation to find yourself in when you've gone somewhere, you've organised a hard bitter pill to swallow.
And plus having the hotel room, and then you're the only one that's in the room.
Thank you.
The
for-
faith that you have in that woman is unbelievable. I feel like that she understood that the jig was up, that she couldn't string him along anymore. She either showed up this time, or she knew that she had to say that it was over. But I don't think she was in it for the right reasons.
All over the world.
You've tried to see her so many times,
Yeah.
and she's always made an excuse in the day of to
We
say,
face an onslaught
it's our mom's
from
birthday.
far left.
You go to your mom's birthday every year. Tell her
It's the same day every year.
I'm sorry for him. She got told once, that's understandable. Twice, thrice, he shouldn't have
prohibiting us from enforcing
been in that relationship in the first place.
she was getting this money, she was taking
Just as
advantage
one
of you.
example,
Like, wait until you find the right person. And it's gonna be amazing. And that's all you have to do.
You will find somebody that has the same faith in you that you have in her.
Exactly.
If all of you were in this situation, would you have given up sooner?
Issued a ruling saying the law could only apply to
They
a
attempted to make a meeting at
14
one point,
days.
and then it got canceled and canceled again. I would have been finished at that time.
That's what you created in your mind's eye.
Right. We weren't in the conversations that you were having. I feel positive she made you feel like she loved you, or you would not be doing what you were doing.
Caesar, looking back, do you think there was anything that you could have done differently?
No,
His nationwide injunction.
actually, no. There's nothing I could have did. She could have called, she could have told me something earlier, and then,
It's not the job
It
of
would've
judges
been-
to
it
impose
would've-
their
she
own
would've been-
political views. Their
and
job
I've
is to
tried.
apply
you know,
You've
the
read
order of the law.
on social media,
Our
they
great.
said that you were a sucker, that you were outsmarted for falling for whatever response. I mean, what would you say to those
That is
people
why
who say
I
those things on social
Already
media?
had appointed and
the
approved
thing that I see is that they don't know her like I know her.
brand new federal judges and court of
Having those
appeals.
conversations, and they seem that
We're
she's like,
committed to
like
upholding
that
the
she's,
laws and
she's
the
absolutely like a real
Constitution as
person.
written.
You know, it just feels like I can't finish because she's not there.
Way over.
I'm torn with Caesar, and I hate it because he's such a nice guy, you know, and you really want to feel sorry for him, but at the same time, like this strain that we get sucked into the idea of love, but at
Thank you, President
5 years, we can't
Everybody in this room
and it's
thanks
almost
you.
seems like you're still defending.
We'll
Yeah,
have
scam.
182
That's it.
very shortly.
All the excuses, the money,
In cities such as
when he would do so much for her and she would say, you don't care, or you're not trying enough, like, she was manipulating you, and it's so sad.
Enforce the law. You've heard about that.
I think that
For
if you're
example, local
stuck
prosecutors have declared that they will not charge certain
was
offenders
call her, that's
including
not
any
bad,
theft
that's not a wrong thing.
and drug
If she deserves it.
crimes. They just
But
won't
I
charge.
mean, the fact that she never
This is a
appeared to
fundamental
patients,
violation
that means to me
of
that
their
I'm totally disrespectful for
The
him
most
and that she
dangerous
doesn't
and
care
shameful
about him.
attacks
He needs to move on. He needs to move on and he needs to find someone that really loves
the
him.
form of
He's still guilty, not.
sanctuary cities, order jails and
Caesar,
prisons to
what
release
did you do
criminal
with the ring
aliens,
that you got, Maria?
I kept
people
it.
that have committed
I
divorce
kept the ring.
crimes.
You know, I could have went and I could have like just went back
Instead
and
of
got my money
saying,
and
turning
just
them over to
did that,
federal
but
immigration
I want to
authorities.
just keep it.
That's good. There's nothing wrong with that.
And I kept like the edible panties, you know, and I had a web.
Or what I like
You
to
know,
do
I
is-
On that one, there, Caesar.
What really makes me really pissed off right now is that, you know, she's not here and I still can't say what I want to say. But now it's just like, I'm just
Their worst.
here.
Because
Where does your relationship today stand?
let the United States.
Non-existent. It's gone now.
You probably heard over the last couple of years. Thousands
Well,
of
when we return,
aliens
we do
have
have
set
Maria
free
and she is
US
ready to tell her
citizens
side of the story.
because of these
So
policies.
don't go anywhere.
terrorizing.
Coming up, first I wanted to say something. Are you seeing something?
A lot of elections are being lost.
Caesar said he has sent you around $40,000.
There is no 40,000. It's not true. And he knows.
Meet the Platts.
Welcome
Back to 90 Day Fiancé. Before the 90 days, couples tell all with Sean Robinson. We have been talking to Caesar about it. Maria is now ready to give us
Let's not
her
talk about
side
what happened
of
in Louisiana. Let's not talk about the fact that we picked up 2 Senate seats from 18.
You'll find what it is you're looking
One from 51 to 53. No,
for. Whatever this is,
they don't talk about these things.
whatever comes of it, you get what you want eventually.
And hopefully we talk loudly enough so people understand what's
Let us
going on
welcome
and how well we're doing. Last year alone, here in Illinois, local officials blocked ICE detainees for illegal aliens responsible for hundreds of offensive, including
Hi,
homicide,
Maria. So glad you could join us. How are you?
drugs,
I'm not thinking.
trafficking, humans, robbery, and sexual assault. Just a few weeks ago, near Seattle,
Okay, so of course we have a
Washington,
lot of
a
questions.
county
Since
jail
most
released
of
an
your
illegal
stories told
alien
from Caesar's
MS-13 gang member, the
perspective,
worst,
let's take a look at this relationship through
who they
another
previously
lens.
refused to hand over to ICE. And by the way, ICE
I joined
has
the
heroes
station
of
like
behaviors did.
maybe 8 years ago.
Who would do that job?
I don't really know about this
Who
side
would do that job?
because a lot of guys
These are warriors.
want
and
to
they
date
love our
many
country, by
girls.
the way.
You
This man went on to murder a 16-year-old boy with a baseball bat.
Did not text me.
He didn't do anything.
When I saw him profile,
He was a young child who was on his way to a beautiful future.
how he talks
He
to
didn't
me.
do anything.
Yeah, baby. Your man loves you. Oh, I
He
love you.
murdered him with a bat.
Sexy, you like that?
Last year, on the day after Christmas, America grieved when California police officer Ronald
So I
Singh
like what he
was
does
murdered by a criminal alien,
sunflowers.
a known gang member, a tough guy,
And he's
with 2
American, so it's
prior arrests for bad things, who was released due to sanctuary city laws.
during this time, of course, I talk to other guys because it's like it's normal. I cannot like stop for only one man. But I don't have green on my head, I'm free.
American citizen.
I like to travel. I've been almost all of the world. Actually, I just back from Dubai.
So they want open borders.
Never
Everybody
been
come
in the
in.
United
Come on.
States. It's my dream. I wish in Beverly Hills. Oh, it was awesome. What about like, did you
Forget politics.
meet the
It's good politics. I don't think so. I think you'll find that out. Here today is someone who can tell you
These are
more
sending you
about
some money
the
and don't ask, you give it to
by
me.
saying
You didn't say like,
he's a career
huge
ICE
amount.
officer.
I know.
And
They
the
might not do
current
it,
ICE
they send me this kind of
director,
amount.
Matt Aldis. Matt, please come
How
on.
much money did Caesar send you?
I don't know. I'm not account.
So, what exactly he told you the last time he appeared in your life again?
He said like, I'm still ready. I want to back to you. I want to like renew our relationship.
So, what he has to do to have you back?
Our partners in law enforcement. I don't know the remarks I'm about to make.
We're not together now.
were made 2 years ago,
We're still
4 years
friends.
ago, and 6 years ago.
So it's like for Caesar, if he wants to
It's
a girl
safe
like
for
me,
law enforcement at all levels.
he should understand that he needs to work and do
There's a
something.
limited human cost to sanctuary
Go
law and
and
policy,
make more money.
which ban local law enforcement agencies from working with ICE, to include even the simple sharing of information about criminals in their custody.
You know, first I wanted to say something.
Make us less safe. It's plain and simple. It's past
Are
time
you seeing
to
something
stop
else?
political rhetoric and listen to the facts.
Oh,
And the fact is, people are being
There's no
hurt
way.
and victimized every day because of jurisdiction.
Okay, so there's nobody.
then why did she say there was?
Yeah.
As law enforcement
So who are you describing
it's
to
frustrating
us?
to see senseless acts of
This kind
violence
of joke.
and other criminal
It's a joke?
activity happen in our communities. Knowing that ICE has embedded them with just
I
enough
believe there is a
cooperation,
Even if she doesn't have the boyfriend, the description of what she wants.
we think it's
Right.
simple.
So it doesn't matter.
Doesn't exactly.
Any law enforcement agency to enforce federal immigration law.
Yeah.
We merely ask law
She's done you a
enforcement
favor.
agencies to honor ICE detainers, which until recently, most
Now,
agencies
Maria,
did for over
where
half a
do
century.
you stand with Caesar
Hold that person for
at
a brief
this?
period of time, notify us when they're getting ready to
Right
release,
now?
and turn
Yes.
them over to us in the safe confines of your detention facility.
I don't know what to say. I'm not saying like we're lovers of
The
friends.
exact same standard that every law enforcement agency in the
Yes, I
U.S.
did.
here
You
operates.
did. For how long did you consider him
The
your
fact
boyfriend?
is that 70% of the civil arrests that ICE makes
2
in local
years.
jails and state prisons.
You're saying that you guys had a 5-year
But we used
relationship.
to make more.
She's not painting it
More
as a
sanctuary
5-year
laws and
relationship.
policies.
When we had met on the site, we were talking, and then
No choice.
we had took a break. After that, I went back on the site to see if she was there. Then I wanted to get off the site and actually have a one-on-one with her.
It's less effective.
How come you never saw each other? Why were you missing these flights to
There will
come
be
see
criminals you don't
him
find.
when you considered him your boyfriend and he was trying to see you? Give us your side of the story.
Subsequent criminal violations.
It's
These are
like
preventable
one
crimes,
time. It's like
even more
I have some
importantly,
problems.
preventable victims.
Some United States, so.
How many billions of dollars has law
What's the
enforcement
problem that
spent
she faced with
on crime
the
protection,
American visa?
crime prevention?
It's very hard to get
You want to prevent
whenever into
crime?
the United States.
Help us get the criminals out of
What I
our
don't
communities.
understand is why, if she's applied for a visa, doesn't get granted access, why the next thing would be to go and see her.
Maria, did you ever want Caesar to come and
You
visit
want to stop
you?
gun violence?
Yes.
Get the criminals perpetrating that violence out of their communities. Last year, ICE arrested 11,000 people with weapons violations.
Me
More
too, it's
than
really
all over the
cool.
country now.
It's like it's better come in spring or it's summer.
She wanted something where it feel like
Last year, we made more than 105,000 criminal alien arrests.
Let's talk about the
We
money.
moved more than
Caesar
105,000
said
criminal
he
aliens,
has sent you around
to include nearly
$40,000.
6,000 gang
It's
members.
not true. And she knows.
This year, ICE's Homeland Security
How much
investigations
money
include
has
many
Caesar
things
sent
work
you
side by
over the
side,
years?
and we appreciate that partnership and cooperation.
There is no
More
special
than
amount.
37,000
Would you say it was half of that, maybe
They seized
20,000?
more than 11,000 pounds of opioids,
5,000?
seized more than $624 million
Maybe if your
in
hand is
illegal
fine, yours
proceeds of
was
crime,
together, but we
and
actually
rescued
was
over
not
1,400
together.
victims of human trafficking and exploitation.
Since the canceled vacation in Mexico, have
We
you
have
sent
many
Maria
HSI
any
special
more
agents in
money?
charge at headquarters
Yeah, I
here
did
with us
send her
today.
I think it
And
was
honor
like
and
around,
the privilege
like
of representing
3,000 to
them, the tremendous
3,000.
work of their special agents,
And then that's
our
when
our
we
attorneys,
stopped talking.
the task force officers, and support personnel do
Make sure
on
I
behalf of this
refused.
country.
You refused it, so
I didn't accept.
you
As
did
a
not
career
accept.
law enforcement officer, I'm imploring
Our job
all
is what's
state
your
and
job.
local officers in this room
That's
to
it.
work with us. Find a way to partner with us. For the sake of our communities.
I just don't know why she's doing
to
this.
protect, and for the sake of our country.
Do you believe
And
it
for
was a
those that
game
already do,
that Maria was playing you?
you will have every ounce of support from ICE that we can provide. The truth of the matter, and one which every person in this room knows, every community and every cop is safer
I'm gonna go look at
when law
it.
enforcement
Now,
works together.
ready.
Thank you.
I'm done.
Your job is what's your job.
Thank you, Matt.
That's it.
Doing a great
Here comes
job.
out.
I mean, honestly, I didn't know he was gonna make a speech.
I just don't know why she's doing this.
Do you believe it was a game that Maria was
I
playing
didn't know. I
you?
said, wait a minute, that's 5 pages he's got there. Yeah, that's a good 5 pages, and thank you very much, Matt. You're doing a fantastic job. And we bring
I
out
think that I'm still
thousands of
young.
MS-13 gang members, thousands. We take them out, and we focus on the bad ones. We focus
I
on
think
the
that
worst.
originally that
We
she
have people coming in, and we have some really bad
that she
ones.
tried,
We
and I know you guys think I'm no stupid for saying that, but
MS-13 gang members. Our police put their
lives on the front line for us every day.
Maria,
And
did
you
you
deserve
ever
the
love
absolute
Caesar?
support of your electees.
My
My
administration will always protect those
do.
who Here with us today
They
are
are
three
three of those heroes who were nominated for the
ICT Police
Police
Officers
Officers
of
of
the
the
Year
Year
Award.
Award.
You do?
Nick Griffin,
Thomas
Thomas
Thompson,
and Jonathan
Jonathan
Morales. When
When
Minnesota,
Minnesota,
I just left Minnesota.
best.
when Minnesota officers
Doesn't matter what he's doing or what he's doing.
responded to an active hostage situation.
Caesar, you said that.
He found the killer
relationship
holding a knife to the victim
Well,
and putting himself in great danger for very specific reasons. He decided to
I know
fire
I'm
a single
probably
shot.
crazy for doing
And
this.
took
I
out the
know
murderer.
I should have just cut it off.
He's received tremendous praise and it was a very great
But I
thing
know I
to
should
do.
have that she's specific and I still love her.
Officer Griffin,
You mean you want to bring her to America?
please come
Well, I
on.
want to go down to work the first time I ever go down there. Yes,
To try to rekindle
to try to
what we lost. Okay, Maria, you heard Caesar say he would like to fly down to Ukraine and try to salvage the relationship.
Mr. President, and thank everyone.
After what he did?
I'm
Well,
actually.
what part of this do you feel is Caesar's fault? What picture are we not seeing?
Just like what how he represents all this kind of story.
And then I definitely think.
We blame in all these kind of things or pretend like we cannot push or something like that.
And my support my entire campaign. But the people I want the most.
He got what he wants.
But when you say he gets what he wants, what do you mean?
I know what she's talking about. She's talking about that everybody's saying, oh, wow, we feel sorry for you. And everybody's saying that she's fake and that everybody hates her and everything.
He's sitting there right now and he know how all people love him.
I don't care what people
Texas police officer Thomas Thomas responded to a report of a robbery. When he entered the building, the suspect began to fire
I understand that
wildly.
you're pissed off at me and you want to but I tried in my heart to try and be a man and to try to do it for this woman and to try to get you here. I kept trying and then everything just started up. And in another way, so there's a way that I can try to get you down here. If I didn't love you, I wouldn't have done anything. I would have just stopped the whole relationship. I would just say, forget it because it's not worth it. It's going to worth a lot to me. That's why I invested everything. And my last option was for me to show everybody how much I love you. And that's what it was.
I feel incredibly honored to be here, to be recognized for what is essentially just a
Baby, I
story.
am strong. I always be strong.
The president described hundreds of thousands of law enforcement men and women in this country,
Caesar, I'm telling you,
ready
right
and
now.
willing to win the moment
Yes,
when the time comes.
just
I'm
cry
very
your
honored to be
distance.
here because I won a moment.
Like you're trying to
Mr. President, thank you for your
make me
support.
bad in the beginning,
Law enforcement,
Make yourself look
especially in
better.
this day and age,
and now you
that's
pretend to be
it's
like
not
that.
a small thing. It matters.
It's
Thank you.
inside of you.
Thank you to the
He's never said one thing bad about you. Actually, to this day, he's done anything to you. You used him and you know that.
I want to say thank you to the city of Lubbock, to the Lubbock Police Department for supporting me through difficult times.
You'll always be there.
Finally, most personally for me, I want to say thank you to my wife.
You know, because you're always like, everything, baby. I just wanted to hold you in my arms and just to look into your eyes.
You ain't got the kind of money.
Finally, we are very proud to have with
Why
us
is
the
he
hero
to me? Why just
who was just recently announced as the
in your hometown?
2019 Officer of the Year,
Did you hear
Border Patrol agent Jonathan Morales. In May, I met Border Patrol agent Jonathan Morales when he came to the White House for the National Day of Prayer. Just days before, Agent Morales was off duty attending service when a gunman opened fire in a synagogue in Poway, California. You all read about it. It was terrible. Without hesitation, Agent Morales raced towards the shooter and began firing back, driving the gunman away from him. Agent Morales is swift and self-sufficient.
And I do care about
Help
the fund, so I
save
think that
many,
many
many
lives.
I just want to say it's good to meet you a second time, Agent Morales, and your courage
Caesar,
and strength
let us welcome.
is really appreciated and so respected by the entire nation.
Where do
Could
you
please
stand
come forward?
with Caesar? I appreciate hearing from Maria. Does anybody have a different opinion of her than before we met her?
I think a little bit, but I think more or less it's not just so much that we have a different opinion of her. I think
Morning, everybody.
the whole story may be a little bit different than what we thought. I don't know.
Our biggest
Maybe I'm a
supporter.
little more confused than I was at the beginning of the hour.
Multiple parts of a long distance relationship. Say goodbye.
Arias really appreciates what you do. Thank you also, Commissioner Morgan, Chief, Ms. Chavez, Central Secretary, Representative. You guys are responsible for giving us the training and tools that we need to complete our mission. Most of the times is leading criminals. We are the ones that first see them around the country. I have the green uniform on. This is who they will encounter. Just a little recap of that past day. We're sitting in our Chabad.
I've never had anything like this before.
We were attacked.
Here we go, baby.
At that moment, I was a split-second decision. I was off duty. I wasn't off duty.
Just pray and hope that, you know, I get to see her again soon and we can make it work.
I immediately went into action. I did what I could to save as many people as possible.
I don't know.
This terrorist ran away like a coward. Didn't even bother to challenge me or engage me or return fire. I'm grateful to Hashem and also on behalf of Rabbi Goldstein and Chabad Public Radio. I thank you also for your support and love for our community also. So thank you.
Sorry,
all my fellow officers out there, always be safe. Remember, can't be complacent even on our
Avery, what was it like saying goodbye to Omar
that's when it all
so soon
happened.
after getting married?
It was really like so hard. One of the hardest things like I've done. We don't know if we'll see each other again just because of the circumstances. It was really hard to say, maybe this is the last time we see each other. It's not what we want, but you never know what the future holds. But any chance we get, if we lunch break, before bed, we have our schedule picked up that we at least get to talk for at least a few hours a day every day. So
Darcy and Tom, that was a passionate kiss when you guys were leaving the airport. What are your plans while you're here in the U.S.?
He's in much better shape right now.
Acting out this tomorrow. Like back Monday evening, something Trump will come.
So you only have a couple of days and that's it.
Thank you very
It's a
much.
short trip.
Great break.
What do you think things are going to be like when he goes back?
I think we're just going to stay in communication, be here for each other.
Each one of these heroes represent the selfless service of more than 685,000 law enforcement officers all across our
And
country.
Benjamin, so what are
Every
your
day
plans?
Americans get up and go to work.
Just getting
Our
the
children
one
go
process
safely to school.
wrapped up
And our
and
families sleep
and for
soundly
he
at
need to
night
be able
because
to
the
come here.
people in this
So,
room
Will you be going back to
stand
Kenya
guard.
anytime soon?
You risk your
we go back
lives
once we get
and you save
interview
countless
dates
lives. And I've always heard
and be able to go back and visit with your family. So
in many
You have to
cases,
pay the dowry.
people you don't
Hey, so what did she say? Pay the dowry.
finish paying the dowry.
So you're not going back over
And I
there
have to
until
say,
you got
in
some money,
concluding,
right?
That's
you have
correct.
no idea how much the people of this country
Jen,
love
Jen, how
you
did your
and
relationship
respect you.
change once you got back to the States?
You know, we had a plan we were testing the waters there and we figured out that we can't do it.
The side of your
Fortunate
badge strikes
Very
fear
excited
into
to
the
see
hearts
him.
of
I know this
criminals
is just
and
a
pride into
continuation.
the hearts of our citizens.
So
When children hear the sound of
happy
your
for
patrol
it.
cars,
And
they
Ziad,
race to
what was the
catch a
hardest
glimpse
part about saying
because they
goodbye
know that you
to
are the
Rebecca at the
heroes
airport?
of their streets. And in
Oh,
many
that's
cases, they
so
know
difficult
that's
because
you're
I don't
not going
know
to do
how
something.
much
That's
time
what they
I
will
still
do. That's what
not
they
here
will do.
because
They will
I know
be
I miss here so much.
They see it.
together for
Out of
21
love
days, so it was a
for
really
our
long
neighbors,
time.
care for
It's
our
very hard.
communities, and commitment
I've said
to
before, I
our
almost didn't
country.
get on the plane.
We will shield
But we'll know that in the
peace-loving,
next 2
law-abiding
months, I
Americans from
definitely am going back
anyone
to
and
2-2.
everyone
And
who
Caesar,
will do them
where do
harm.
you stand
We will
at
keep
this
our
point?
streets secure,
Well, I
our
want to say,
cities
I
guarded,
think that
and our loved ones safe.
I do love
We
you
will
and I do
fight
care about your
violence,
lives. I think that I'm just
uphold
going to give you a
peace,
break. And I think right now,
enforce the law,
to live our own
and
lives.
with God as our witness, we will proudly
Whatever you want
serve,
to do.
protect,
I'm
You're
just,
done,
and
right?
defend
I'm
the
just done,
citizens
and I
of
think
the
we
United
need to give it a
States.
break.
No more money.
That's it.
To all
I
of
think
the terrific
I'm just
law
gonna be alone
enforcement
for a while.
officers here today,
How
thank you
tough
for your
was it to make that
unwavering
decision, Caesar?
courage
It's
and
really
your
tough because
unbreakable devotion.
I want to show that person
Today and
how
every
much that
day I
you
vow
love.
to stand proudly
Only
loyal
time will
and
tell,
faithfully
and so I think the best
with
thing
the
is if we
incredible
separate and we stop
men
talking.
and women in blue.
Maria, what parting
Now I would like
words
to
would you
invite
like to
The Attorney General of the
Caesar?
United States and
And
the IACP and FOP leadership to join me on stage while I sign our new Commission on Law Enforcement. God bless you, and God bless our great law enforcement, our police officers. God bless our military, and God bless America. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank all of you for coming today and sharing those intimate parts of your lives. I know it's been very tough, definitely a roller coaster, highs and lows, but I wish you all very well. So thank you very much, everyone.